Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I am also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to talk about how to know an avoidant is getting ready to leave. Um, just one thing to note in general, if somebody is trying to leave or they feel like they want to leave, it doesn't always mean the relationship is doomed. And so I don't want you guys to get caught up in the fact that a lot of avoidants tend to leave in the beginning of the relationship or they are contemplating whether they want you or not. Avoidants have a process of pushing people away their whole life. And so it's not personal to you. I just hope that you guys can keep that in mind because a lot of times people take some of these things personally, which creates more triggers for you to push your partner away and your partner to be pushed away or them to push you away. And with somebody who has insecure attachment, a lot of times they do take things personally, especially if they're anxious, preoccupied, or fearful, leaning anxious. I just want you guys to keep that in mind. This is informational. It's not necessarily saying that the relationship won't work. This happens to a lot of relationships and they do get resolved. The main thing to just remember is if this is happening, have a conversation and communicate what can you do as a person to help them feel a little bit more safe, and then in time they can do the same thing. And I'll explain that more in the video. Okay, a lot of patients that I work with have kind of experienced this, so this is not uncommon, but not every avoidant does this, and there usually are triggers before that. Now, basically the best way to put it is if an avoidant starts acting like this, they're getting ready to leave. Now, very often it's because something you're doing, not on purpose, has triggered them. Just like something they're doing is triggering you. This is people who have insecure attachment get triggered more easily, typically, than individuals who are secure. So it's not something that I'm saying you're doing something wrong. It's just two different individuals that see the world differently based on their childhood and their experiences, after that, prior to you. And so the very first one is actually that they're getting frustrated with a behavior of yours. I would like to give an example, but I don't want you to feel like I'm blaming you as an anxious, preoccupied, or a fearful avoidant that leans anxious, or even a person who believes that they are secure. This is going to be more common with folks who are not secure, but it's really something I want you to look at because some people think they're secure and they're not, and that's okay. Very likely secure individuals, unfortunately, based on research, they usually get into relationships very, very early in their life and they stay in those relationships. Typically, not all the time. So please don't think that's always the case. You could very well be someone who's secure and you're having some of these behaviors because being with an avoidant is triggering some of these behaviors within you, but you're not normally like this, okay? So some of these examples could be that you talk on the phone for a long time with them and they've told you they need some space and they don't want to talk every single day on the phone. This is a pretty common one that's brought up in session, which is why that one was on my mind. It's not always the case. Another one could be that sometimes things that bother you outside of the relationship, you bring it into the relationship. This one is way more common than the phone one, but the phone one was on my mind. Just sometimes you're stressed about work and you're bringing it to your partner, which is normal. And some secure people are able to take this a little bit more, but avoidants it's a little harder to absorb all that emotion. They feel frustrated, confused, they feel helpless, they want to help you, and they don't know what to do. And sometimes what ends up happening is because what avoidants do when they're stressed is they regulate. Independently. And so they're wondering why you're not doing that. And so their mind starts thinking, wow, we're very different. Maybe we're not compatible, which is why they start thinking this is something that they might have to leave for. They get frustrated. I've had some patients even say, well, this really proves that I know this is not the person I want long term. They had that thought. I don't want this person long term. I might be with them for a couple of years, but I'm not trying to scare you. But they say that. But if this continues, I don't think I can be like this. Is not the person that I want to get married to. And it's actually not a real. I'm not saying it's not real like they're lying, but it's actually a deactivation strategy because avoidants have a black and white thinking. And so actually as they progress and heal some of these things, they start realizing that they can't label a relationship so quickly and say, okay, this isn't the one in like the first couple months. But a lot of them do that. And this does happen typically in the first couple months. And so if this does occur, as the relationship progresses, they start realizing as you guys heal some of the issues that you're having that this can get resolved and they can get married to you. They can be with you, and relationships, sometimes they don't start perfect. The next one is, instead of shutting down or frustrated during disagreements, they actually respond with indifference. This is a huge sign that they're probably getting ready to leave, or they're really checking out of the relationship. Because most avoidants, when they have an emotional response, interesting enough, and I've made videos on this before, it means they're still attached to you. And so if their response is becoming indifferent, they're not shutting down, they're not getting frustrated, it's just indifference, they are starting to detach from the relationship. The next one is they talk about a future without including you when previously they did include you. This one's tricky because sometimes they just don't include you always. If that's the case, that's not a sign they're getting ready to leave. It's a sign that they need to get more comfortable with the relationship, but it doesn't mean they're getting ready to leave. So it means that they first saw a future with you and now they're not seeing it as much. This can happen in the first couple months. And usually if that happens, it can be recovered pretty quickly if you readjust yourself and they start readjusting their self. This stuff usually can happen in the first 6 months. If it's happening in the 4-year mark, that's a higher likelihood that it's harder to resolve. But they usually put more effort in trying to resolve it because the commitment is longer. If it's in the beginning months, then if you guys act more quickly on it or you have communication on it, it can be resolved to the point where it may not come up again. But it's tricky for that reason. However, if they're talking about a future without you and they used to talk about it with you, maybe have, a conversation with them. I noticed that you're talking about the future without me. Is there something I'm doing that's making you feel like maybe we're not, compatible with each other? What can we adjust so that we can make this work? Something like that. The next one is they told you directly, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is working anymore. Again, have a conversation. If they say that, is there something I'm doing? Put it on yourself first before you put it on them, because it'll help them to feel more comfortable to tell you what they're looking for. And then at that point, you can say, that makes sense. What I'm noticing is when you do X, Y, and Z, I get triggered, which makes me feel this way. And so if you can do that and I can do this, we can work on it. That usually can help in the beginning. If you guys are together for years, the conversation might be, the reason I'm feeling like this is because you haven't done X, Y, and Z, and this is how I'm feeling. That will fit more palatable if you guys have been married, if you are married. But 6 months, put it on yourself first can help, just because you guys are still strangers or not knowing each other as well, not strangers. The next one is that they no longer defend or explain themselves. Again, have that conversation. The 6th one is that they get annoyed or bored, or they are noticeably annoyed or bored when you guys are spending time with each other. This one does typically signify the end of a relationship. Have a conversation, bring it up. And the last one is that if they had a nickname for you, that they're no longer using the nickname, they're using your full name. So the treatment for this is the same. Conversation, put it on yourself if you guys are in the beginning stages, or have a conversation as to why some of these symptoms are happening. If it's long term, you can bring it on both of you guys, okay? So we're going to summarize. They're frustrated with the behavior of yours. Instead of shutting down, they're responding indifference. They talk about a future without you, which at first they used to talk about it with you. They told you that they can't do this anymore. They no longer defend or explain themselves. They seem annoyed or bored, and they're no longer using a nickname. I hope this video is helpful. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.